We're live. What's up, everyone? Jacob Wilson here, Ryan Lowery. You are at ASPI, and we're super excited actually to have you here with us right now in beautiful Tampa, Florida. Ryan and I last week actually just came back from Low Carb USA,
Yep.
and actually there was a great presence with Adapt Your Life there as well. And Dr. Westman was there. A lot of really cool people were there. Big stars. Dominique D'Agostino was there.
Gary
Taubes, Steve Finney, Jeff Volek, Dom. I mean, just like you name it, it was a who's who of ketogenic people.
Yeah.
And we were excited. We had an opportunity to come and speak about one thing we're passionate about, a lot of our background, which is human performance. Now, I guess it would be cool actually to just talk about like how we got into this a little bit.
Like the background?
Our background, yeah.
Yeah, so I think where it all started for us, I mean, it was really great to see Dr. Volek there, but it was 2011 when Doc and I were sitting at a conference in NSCA, and we've been interested in nutrition and exercise all of our lives. We both played sports. He was like a professional hockey player, like the next freaking Stamkos over here. And then I played baseball. So we were both always interested in sports. How can you take your body to the next level and optimize performance? And soon after we were done playing sports, we realized that performance wasn't just about athletes, so to speak, but performance was the everyday mom getting up and hitting the gym. It was the grandfather being able to play with his kids. And so we realized that was the direction we really wanted to take our research. And in 2011, we attended a conference called the National Strength and Conditioning Association Conference. And Dr. Volek was given a phenomenal talk on ketogenic diets and performance. And during this talk, he talked about all of his data with Dr. Finney on endurance athletes, and it was incredible. Afterwards, someone came up to the mic and said, "But Dr. Volek, what studies are there on ketogenic dieting and resistance training or muscle?" And he goes, "To be quite honest, we don't have any." And Doc and I looked at each other and we're like, "Man, like this is what we do. This is our field. Like we have a lot of work to do." And so since then, it's just been going nonstop to make sure that happens.
Exactly. So we've been super excited about this since then. We've done a lot of research on resistance training, power training, and the ketogenic diet. And so we presented on that out there in beautiful San Diego, and now we're going to present some of that information, a summary of that to you guys. So let's get into it. Basically, we started off by actually doing a resistance training study. We took well-trained guys and we actually keto adapted them. Now, one thing you notice, you look in the literature, when they go, "Oh, ketogenic dieting decreases performance, resistance training performance, or power," what they'll do is they'll put them on and I'm going to put quotation marks around it, a ketogenic diet for a week or 5 days or 3 days, and go, "Oh, if you don't have carbs for 3 days and you deplete yourself, your performance goes down." Well, we all know that's because you didn't adapt. So when we took these athletes, we adapted them for 2 weeks. Then we had them resistance train for several weeks and put them head to head against a high carb diet, matched for protein. And the ketogenic diet was able to gain just as much muscle and just as much strength as those who were on carbs. And intriguingly enough, they actually lost a little bit more fat too. Actually, they lost more fat, substantially more fat. So that study was recently published in Journal of Strength Conditioning Research. And probably when it came out, was probably the most popular paper in ketogenic dieting of 2017. Now, why was it the most popular paper? Because people said for years, you can't gain as much muscle on a ketogenic diet. So what happened is this. If you guys ever heard what a mantra is like, a mantra is like if you say something enough, hopefully it'll come true. Well, people kept saying like, "Oh, you can't gain muscle on a ketogenic diet, you can't gain muscle on a ketogenic diet, you can't gain muscle on a ketogenic diet." So what is that? That's a mantra over and over again. We showed you can gain as much muscle on a ketogenic diet. Went viral. People kept repeating the mantra, even though the paper came out. Can't gain muscle on a ketogenic diet, can't gain muscle on a ketogenic diet, but it's sitting right there in black and white. and Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, you can gain just muscle on a ketogenic diet.
But I think one of the fascinating things is since we did that study, several other studies have come out to kind of show the same thing. I mean, our colleague, Dr. Rachel Gregory, hopefully soon to be doctor one day, she did a study on ketogenic dieting and CrossFit athletes. So literally people who are performing extremely high intensity over and over again. And she found in both males and females who were performing CrossFit-like workouts, once they were truly adapted over time on a ketogenic diet, matched for protein intake, matched for calories, same protein, same calories, they were able to gain just as much muscle, performance improved just as much, but they lost significantly more fat. So again, another one, and then our recent study, if you want to talk about that, with Jordan Joy, kind of confirmed the same exact thing.
Same thing. So this is from multiple laboratories, in humans and in animals. And actually that was one thing too. We did a study with Dr. Mike Roberts' lab where we essentially looked at the molecular level, literally the molecular level, protein synthesis, all the molecular signaling mechanisms, and saw that on a ketogenic diet, that rats who are on a ketogenic diet could actually gain or increase protein synthesis to the same extent as rats that were not on a ketogenic diet. So to us, this is exciting stuff.
Really exciting.
And we feel it's definitely paving the way, and it's breaking the mold. Because what Ryan and I find, breaking the mold. Because Ryan and I find, and this is the thing for you guys out there who are thinking about being scientists, and I know like guys like Dr. Westman are paving the way from Adapt Your Life. Dr. Finney, definitely. We talked to Dr. Finney actually, and we said, great work. He says, it's not work, it's a mission.
That's awesome.
And in his field, in Volek, reaching these individuals in health, diabetes, think about the fight that they had. In our field, we have this fight on performance where the performance field is dominated by carbs, and anything else besides that is heresy. But for you guys out there who are doing this and you want to spread the word, realize you're paving a new way. And so you'll see people who come in and like, that can't be, but it is. And so just keep fighting the fight, and that's what we would encourage you to do. So
barking dogs don't chase parked cars.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
You know you're moving forward.
You know you're moving forward. So we've also, like I said, point out like CrossFit's worked really well. We've also looked at different types of ketogenic dieting. Some people talk about cyclic ketogenic dieting, and some people talk about targeted ketogenic dieting. Now, the premise behind cyclic ketogenic dieting, like what's the premise, right, that people talk, why do people do it?
Right, well, people want to stay flexible, right? They want to have their cake and eat it too. And I think we agree that it's important to stay flexible, but the degree through which some people do it matters. And I think that's what we really found, is that some people think, all right, cool, like I'm going to go keto Monday through Friday and then just blow it out on the weekends. And then I'll just get back into it on Monday. We actually did a study. We looked at that. We're like, all right, can you really just hit keto hard for 5 days and then blow it out on the weekends?
Yep.
And basically what we found was two groups, ketogenic diet, cyclic ketogenic diet, where they blew it out on the weekends. And they were both in a calorie deficit. After the study, both groups lost the same amount of mass. Total weight, both of them lost the same amount. But it's the composition of that mass that truly matters. That's what really matters. And when you kind of look underneath the hood at what happened, the individuals who are in a cyclic group lost almost a lot of muscle mass. And we can kind of go into why we think that's the case, but those who are on a ketogenic diet almost purely lost fat mass over the entire course of the study. So it seems to indicate that that whole, hey, let me go keto Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday I'm going back to having regular pizza, not fathead or low carb pizza. I'm just going to have regular pizza, fries, and all this stuff. It doesn't seem to pan out.
And that's the thing. And so basically it's like, if you do cyclic ketogenic dieting, you likely won't adapt too well. Now, maybe if you take a more limited approach, we were talking to actually Dr. Mercola, and he's like, wait, I think cyclic could work. And we actually talked with each other, and it seemed like our terminology was just different because we actually agreed. And basically, we both have come to the conclusion is that if you had carbs around the workout, you may be able to maintain flexibility but not be kicked out of ketosis. Right. Okay? So we did a study with our colleague Jordan Joy, and he basically gave carbs before workouts, and it didn't kick people out of ketosis. Now, we studied the threshold for that and found that you could probably handle anywhere from 20 to maybe 40 grams, depending on where you're at.
Of a slow digesting carbohydrate.
Slow digesting carbohydrate. We're not talking about Pop-Tarts, right? So basically a slow digesting carbohydrate, pre-exercise, and you won't be messed up. But again, it's got to be limited. Some people can take up to, what did we find? Some people take up to 60?
Yeah, so they were getting up to like 80 grams of net carbohydrates and still staying in ketosis. So it varies differently person by person. But again, the type and the quality of the carbohydrate certainly does matter.
Mm-hmm. And if you think about it too, like let's say I'm an athlete and I'm going to go on a 80 mile, or say I'm going to go on a 50 kilometer bike ride. Okay? Well, I might be able to handle 50 grams of carbs for my workout.
Easily, yeah.
If Ryan and I are going to do 5 sets of 5 on bench press, are we going to need 80? No. So now the other thing is, tying this all together, flexibility is one reason why people want to introduce carbs, but another reason is people say, I want to have my cake and eat it too. And I don't just mean physically, because the thing is, if you look at like some of the great pages that are out there, like ketogenic.com, or Ryan P. Lowery on his Instagram, or the Muscle PhD. If you look at these different accounts, we all have low carb. We all have cakes that are low carb.
Delicious.
And delicious. So you can have your cake and eat it too, and be keto. Like you don't have to have carbs for that.
Look at what Adapt's done with their product line. Like to be able to have something that tastes good, has high quality ingredients, and still maintains a degree of ketosis. That's what it's all. That's where sustainability really comes into play.
Exactly right. So the next default is athletes who say, I want glycogen. So the problem is I want to have more glycogen, but I also want to be keto, so how can I do that? Turns out Jeff Bullock's lab, more recently ours, have both independently found that when you're keto adapted, your muscle carb stores are no different than if you were on carbs. Intriguingly enough, Bullock actually took individuals, gave them a high-fat shake. After 15 months of keto adapting, a high-fat shake, and compared to people who weren't keto adapted, they replenished glycogen stores to the same extent.
Same degree. And one of the primary reasons why we think that's happening, two possible reasons, is we know that potentially amino acids can convert over to glycogen, right? And contribute to that. Well, everyone goes, oh, well, I told you, well, that must be all the important amino acids that are important for muscle. It's actually the opposite. So if you looked, and we actually did this with our animals, when you look at like leucine levels, which we know is a very important amino acid for like maintaining muscle growth and preventing muscle breakdown, when you look at leucine levels, they stay actually elevated on a ketogenic diet. But you look at certain amino acids that contribute to what we call gluconeogenesis, like alanine. And that actually tends to contribute to that glycogen. So it's a lot lower in the animals who are on a ketogenic diet because it's being converted. The other aspect could be the glycerol. And we talk about this a lot because fat gets broken off. You think about like a triglyceride, 3 fatty acids, and the glycerol. The glycerol being contributing to gluconeogenesis from fat itself. So your body can make the carbohydrates it needs, and I think there's a good quote going around, there's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate.
No.
Your body really can adapt pretty well.
That's a great quote. We should put it up in our conference room. so that's definitely an insight on some of the stuff like that. Now, other things that we looked at is what about motor performance, like balance. We did see that like increasing ketone levels, actually actually administering ketones to individuals like exogenously, we see an increase in balance. That's one thing we talked about in our lab. Other things we talked about was that ketones themselves may be anabolic.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like trigger it. So we actually looked at like protein synthesis, and it's what people, when they chug down a protein shake or they're drinking amino acids, they're really looking to stimulate something known as muscle protein synthesis, which helps drive muscle growth. And we actually found that ketones themselves stimulate this pathway. They increase muscle protein synthesis on top of preventing important amino acids like leucine from being broken down. So there definitely does seem to be this anabolic nature of ketones themselves.
Exactly right. So, of course, we also got in. We have looked at some very fun, I think, fun things, but interesting things with. We've done case studies with Parkinson's.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
We had one of our case studies, essentially with Parkinson's. We had an individual. As you know, with Parkinson's, what happens is that the cells in the brain that release dopamine, basically, dopamine is very important for motor control, motor function. When dopamine's down, we have a suite of symptoms, such as hands that are essentially shaky, repetitive movements, difficulty just overall motor control. And one of our subjects who came in, basically, we have an eye tracking device. You put on glasses, and it will track your eyes and how you can do targets. And this individual couldn't track a target correctly. He was very much all over the place. So if it was a circle, it'd be more like that, If it was a figure 8, it'd be, kind of like that. And after being administered the ketones, he basically went from being a clinical level of being able to track these targets to being normal, and within basically instantaneous as far as his motor control. Well, I remember when he came in the lab, he couldn't put my phone number inside of his phone, and at the end he's sitting there with his phone texting like normal. And it is incredible. And one of the things that he told me, he's like, Jacob, what the doctor told me? He goes, this is the best day of your life, or this is the current, for the rest of your life, this will be the best day of your life, and the next day will be worse. And every day after that will be worse. So tomorrow will be the next best day for the rest of your life, and the next day will be worse. Well, there's a study on an individual with Parkinson's, and it was a small study, but in 1 month of ketogenic dieting, on a Parkinson's scale of quality of life, everyone improved anywhere from 20 to up to 80% in their quality of life on the Parkinson's scale. 20, 80%. Now that absolutely is the exact opposite of every day is going to be worse.
So, the thing that it's crazy, and we talk about this a lot, is that we're so passionate about this area, and I think the way I look at it is it's almost unethical for someone to not even consider the option of adopting a ketogenic lifestyle for someone who has some type of neurological complication, and to at least explore it, look into it, and see if it can be a fit. And when we look at a lot of these problems that tend to overlap, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, traumatic brain injury, a lot of them even aging, just normal aging, we'll talk about that, but normal aging, the process of all of those seem to stem from an inability of the brain to take up and utilize glucose. If that's the case, if that truly is the case, granted there's many factors going on, impaired mitochondrial function, tau buildup and plaques and things like that, but a lot of that stems from the brain's inability to take up and utilize this fuel source. If that's the case, how come we don't even explore, in the medical community we need to get to this more, but exploring and investigating the option of providing an alternative fuel source for the brain, that it can readily, even under conditions of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or traumatic brain injury, take up and utilize ketones. So I think that's really the direction we're going to be going. We're going to be doing a lot with traumatic brain injury, especially with, I don't know, you guys I'm sure have seen the reports with the CTE. I mean, literally there was just a report the other day about they analyzed 111 brains of former NFL players and 110 had CTE. I mean, it's alarming. It's alarming what's going on, and it starts from youth all the way up to where they're at now. So that's a very important aspect of really addressing the brain.
It really is. It really absolutely is. So we encourage you guys to move forward with that and spread the word on that.
Want to touch on the longevity stuff as well?
This is something we're really excited about.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you guys know, but a lot of us, both Ryan and I, actually got into ketogenic dieting, and both of us became scientists and doing research because of our family and particularly our parents. Ryan's mom, Joan, and my dad, Floyd Wilson, and mom, Anita Wilson. And basically, my dad's very physically active, right? And he's passionate. And he was, he was a firefighter and had injuries, inflammation, had surgeries. It's a rough job. And he was feeling it. And my dad was getting ready to go into his 50s. And it was starting to hit him, the fact that he couldn't do what he did before, when he was in his 20s and 30s. And I said to myself, I'm gonna do my dissertation. I'm gonna go to school for this. I'm gonna figure out this anti-aging thing as much as I can, whatever's in my power to do. And so basically, my dissertation was anti-aging. Ryan and I teamed up on this, and we with Mike Roberts, and we did a study basically with a lifelong study with ketogenic diet. Actually, it was the ketogenic diet started at around middle age with rats. And the study's just been completed. We're looking at the molecular mechanisms behind this. But what we basically found is that the rats that were on a ketogenic diet lived substantially longer lives. And it was consistent. So you had a lot of rats dying off on a healthy, low-fat diet. Yeah, they were dying off way before the ketogenic dieting group. And the ketogenic dieting group was lasting consistently, all of them, much longer.
For sure.
And so to us, it was like, Steve Finney said, I think we all have the potential to live at least 100 years.
Yeah, that was cool.
And we were seeing that potential was being reached by much more rats in the ketogenic diet group than not. And I can tell you personally, actually Ryan and I just went out to California to visit my parents. And my dad's doing sprints up the hill. He looks like even in the last year, 5 years younger than he did a year ago. He's lean, you know what I mean? He's just excited. His energy never stops. And so, my mom, I saw her, I was like, Mom, I can't believe how amazing. And Ryan's got a similar story with his mom too.
Yeah, same exact thing. So my mom has autoimmune disease. She's got Crohn's. And for her, it was always battling this fear of eating. And the people, and this is why I'm so against this concept of it's just all about calories. Because if people really knew, my mom might have eaten 500 calories a day, or maybe 700 calories a day, and it wasn't like she was losing weight like this. So it's not just a calories thing. And for her, I was like, I need to find a way to make sure that she's holding on to as much muscle as possible, feels more confident in herself, and is able to lose fat mass. And so we literally were like, all right, we're crazy scientist guys. If we're gonna do this, why don't we just move her down? And so we did. So she literally moved down here, and she's here now permanently. And we tracked her, and we did a study where, a case study on her, where we monitored her fat mass, and it dropped significantly. I think her quality of life is just exponentially improved, and she feels incredible. So it's been a game changer for both of us. And then even Marley, you want to talk about Marley?
Oh yeah. Marley is our dog back home in California, my parents' dog, and we've had boxers my whole life. Okay, and boxers they're phenomenal. They're phenomenal pups. Some of the most emotionally intelligent individuals, really, humans, animals, anything. They're very emotional, and so you get very attached to boxers because they're so emotionally and how much they attach to you. And but our boxers pretty much died anywhere from usually they dropped around 5 to 7 years of age. They started passing away. Some younger. Some of our boxers died when they were 2 or 3. One of our boxers lived to 10 years old, and her name was Samantha, and Samantha was in agony at 10. It was like we loved her and we did everything, but she couldn't run anymore. She could barely walk. You could tell she had arthritis, inflammation, and she was just in pain. And we tried to put her on like the best food that was out that we knew of. And anyway, our current boxer, Marley, been on a ketogenic diet probably since our middle age. And Marley is 12 years old, and he's with my dad doing sprints up the hill right now, and actually very muscular. So he eats a ketogenic diet, and my mom cooks for him. So it's a combination of basically ground beef, coconut oil, bacon, minerals. Basically lots of vegetables, lots of grains. Marley gets lots of grains. So, and MCTs and things like that. And Marley's doing great. He loves life. He's not in pain. In fact, he's got a huge spirit. So if you guys are dog lovers out there, our good friend Daniel Orrego actually says, like, if you're not going to do it for yourself, why would you do that to your dog? You know what I mean? Like,
imagine the way I approach it with animals. It's like, imagine we wouldn't feed our kids. Well, I hope not. We wouldn't feed our kids Fruity Pebbles or cereal every single day. When we're feeding them like kibbles and bits, like our dogs and our cats, like it's essentially what we're doing.
Yep.
It's like cereal for them every day, every meal.
Every day.
So there's some exciting stuff coming out with animal products, some animal food. So that's exciting. Very promising.
Exactly right. And actually, like I said, on the anti-aging thing, I saw Rye's mom this morning. I had to just tell, and I told her probably 4 or 5 times in the last 2 weeks. And I don't want to tell her every single day because I don't want her to think it's because it's real. But like I saw her, like she's glowing, and she looks phenomenal, and she has a smile on her face, and you could tell it's like she feels good about herself. And so we're super excited about that. So.
And I think, I mean, kind of to wrap things up here, I mean, I think that's what drove us to do a book. And I think one of the things, we talked to Glenn about it and the team, and you know, it's amazing the mission that Adapt has, and I think we share a very similar one, to really change people's lives and inspire them to go on and live a healthier lifestyle. And for us, we just wrote a book that's coming out August 15th. It's actually called the Ketogenic Bible. It's a beast in it. It's got a ton of different stuff, but we really, for us, it's a passion project because all of where the ketogenic conversation is going, it's exploding, absolutely exploding. And a couple of years ago, Doc and I looked at each other and we're like, well, if this is going to go where we think it's going to go, we need to be able to provide a resource for people that they can trust, that's backed by science but is easily understood, that the lay person can understand and go, where do I get started? Or, all right, like I have someone in my family that's dealing with Alzheimer's or dementia, like how would it work? What would it do? And so like we truly tried to make this thing all encompassing so that it can apply to everyone. Mm-hmm. And it's something we're really excited about. In fact, we're actually taking all the proceeds that we're getting as authors and like redonating them back to ketogenic education, research, and nonprofits, because like one of the things that we always talk about like is sometimes you just have to be about it, and we see it, there's an issue with funding and lack of it for ketogenic research, and we're like, we got to be a voice of reason to try and help further that conversation. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here.
Absolutely, and it really was, and it took a lot of work, man. It took a lot of work, a lot of sleepless nights, and that's why when Ryan and I had this conversation, it was a very solemn conversation because we put so much work into it. Yeah. And it's like literally like putting your money where your mouth is. We looked at each other and go like, this book's got to change people's lives. How do we do that? We said, 1, the information in there, and 2, everything that's going to come to us, we're going to donate back to, like you said, ketogenic research, ketogenic education, and nonprofits. That's how much we care about this, and that's how much this means to us. So So yeah, so that's out. It's on what, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, everywhere.
It's available on Barnes & Noble, Amazon for pre-order. It officially launches August 15th, next Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing I want to say is, first, Glenn, thanks for having us on. We love you, man. You're a champion. Glenn Finkel, huge, really great friend of ours. You really are a champion, Glenn. And also, I wonder if you can see questions here. Also, oh, there's actually some people there. Yeah, but you know, we're a huge fan of you, Glenn. Thank you so much, everyone who's watching this.
Thank you guys.
And next time we're actually on this show, I think that what I would like to do is something fun. A lot of people don't actually see what a laboratory is like.
Yep.
And I'm thinking next time, Glenn, if you're okay with this, next time we're on this show,
We'll show them around.
do a live tour. Let's take you in our facility and show you what the lab's all about.
I want to show you guys this. Our
Yeah.
favorite flavored fat shop. I don't know if you could see that. Adapt your life right there.
Yep.
Are featured in the Ketogenic Bible. You guys are amazing. It's truly incredible what you guys are doing, and like Doc said, we can't tell you how much we appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you guys so much. We'll give you guys a live tour whenever Glenn gives us a thumbs up on that, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks,
Love you.
guys.
Bye.